let's talk about something, some kind of in society that kind of like I've realized about things, and we're going to talk about like desensitization. Yeah, it can have an effect on, the trinity of the human kind, which is the mind, body, and spirit, right? So initially, what, you, what desensitization is basically something that you lose a feeling for, or you push out away from you. It means you lose kind of touch with what is currently going on. And it happens naturally. It can happen naturally. It can also happen, unnaturally. And people can put it on people, and or you can make a choice to actually do it, or it can just come about naturally. And usually the first way that it'll happen is physically. When you're a child and you fall down and you scrape your knee, and it's just like a new sensation, and you're just like it can overtake you, and it's just like, oh, what is this? Any kind of form of pain. You get an ant bite, and you're just, what is this? You know, you cut yourself, or something like that. It's kind of jarring, and it's just something that's brand new, and it's just overwhelming. Then as you get older, you get more injuries, and you have scars. You make jokes about the stories. Oh, I remember that time I busted my ass and all that. It these little boo boos that we had as a child that were like a big deal, and we needed band aids for, and I'm gonna die, because you stepped on a rock and cut your foot, um, or stubbed your toe, you know. And as we get older, these things have accumulated. I can't tell you how many times I've stubbed my toes or cut my hands at work, or hurt yourself. And a natural desensitization of that pain takes place. And there's people that I've done it before. People in martial arts will condition their body to be able to take blows. When you spar and you punch and stuff like that, you're able to take a hit because your pain resistance is a lot higher. Some people, like with martial arts, you kick trees with your shin to toughen up. It's like in Thai boxing, kickboxing. You'll do that to toughen up your bone. The vibrations, when it hits the impact of it's scientific, but there are ways to actually desensitize your body to pain. Is that good? Yeah. Is it bad? Yeah, of course it's bad. But what isn't? Everything is good and bad. Um, but that's the most naturally occurring one that's going to take place with pretty much every single person, just on varying degrees. Some people go extreme with it, and, put themselves in a situation to where, like, body piercing, tattoos and stuff like that, where it's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to overcome pain. Pain's not going to hurt me anymore. Or, maybe somebody got hurt, there's a whole lot of different types of random stories that I could go on about, because life is a flux, bro. For real. But one of the things I really want to kind of touch on is when I say spirit, I'm kind of meaning emotional. It's like desensitization, and that can come about. A lot of people, have become desensitized to having a heart and opening it up and being kind and generous and love. I mean, I'm kind of guilty of that, and it's a shame, because we as human beings, we are emotional people, and when we start to crank off that switch to off, and that's kind of what's happened with society. We don't know how to be emotional. We don't know. I mean, except for anger. Anger, we really try to not have a valve for, unless you have a problem with like anger and stuff like that, where you have to, or else you don't know what'll happen. I'm one of those kind of people. Like when I get angry or provoked, or I feel threatened or anything like that, my brain kind of hits an off switch and I just go into survival mode. And unfortunately, that sucks. So I learned at a young age how to, defuse that and focus to where I wouldn't just black out and wake up and be like, dude, sorry, you know. Um, but those are rare occasions, like on like life-threatening situations, They call it the fight or flights. Uh, and, fight or flight. I don't want to say technique. What is it? Fight or flight theory, maybe? On the basis that if you're in one of those situations, you're going to do one thing. You're either going to fight or you're going to run. And, sometimes you run, just depending on the odds. But more often than not, I just remember being jumped at a bunch of different times. And when shit hits the fan, I don't know if I should tell the story or not. When I was in like 8th grade, I remember me and my homeboy, we got jumped, and I just remember I was on a bicycle, and dude came up and like we're sitting at the front of the wheel, punched me in the side of the head, and my head kind of rang a little bit, and only thing that I can kind of remember is that I got off the bike and I picked it up and I threw it at this dude, and the next thing I know, I'm walking away, and then my friend's like walking up with the bicycle in one hand and his skateboard in the other, and he's like, wait up, wait up, wait up. And I was just like all off my endorphins. He's like, damn, dude. I was like, what? He's like, they said that we were cool. I'm like, I don't know. Okay. But anyway, I just know that I threw the bike on him. I punched the shit out of him until he was bleeding. So, but anyway, boy, I just went off into crazy story land. Huh. All right, so emotionally, we when we open up our heart and we're generous, and sometimes there are people in the world that don't have the same intentions, and maybe they do have those intentions, but they're just not on the same level as we are. We're supposed to have a forgiving heart, and we're supposed to be kind regardless, but we're not supposed to be foolish. We're not supposed to be suckers. Where does that balance come in? And it's really hard because it doesn't always seem to synchronize. When you're in a very helpful, positive, great, giving mood, and you do that for somebody and they just are unappreciative, non-reciprocal, no thank you, you have all these preconceptions that, hey, you're going out of your way to be nice. And they don't even say thank you. Was that what you're doing it for, though? Did you want some thanks? Did you want some gratitude? Because if that's what you were doing, your kindness is being sold, right? Kind of what you're doing. So if you're going to do something kind, and you're going to do something loving, just do it. That's foolish to expect somebody to be overwhelmed with appreciation, because if you're doing something nice, just do it from your heart. And this can also stem from relationships. I know that I've had many different types of situations where I've put my feelings on the line and wish I hadn't. And that regret can turn into, a case of wanting to become desensitized to having feelings and emotions. And you'll start to turn it off. You'll start to build these walls. I have all these, they're all connected in my brain. Having a wall, having a heart of stone, dark heart, just closing yourself off, isolating. But that's a very lonely way to live. And that's currently the kind of like where I'm at, almost pretty much. I just don't really, I don't know. I'd rather not feel than, I don't know how to explain it, but it is a terrible thing, it's a sad thing, but it is what it is. I do have my children and they bring me joy and happiness, and, on that level. But, as far as I don't know, companionship or whatever, it's just, whatever. And I think that's where a lot of people are because of where we are in society, as far as commitment, relationships. and the way that we interact as, what do you want to say the word is, in intimate relationships. And I'm going to touch more on that here in a minute. Well, I guess I can go ahead and touch on it now since we're on this. One of the things that I've kind of figured out with this is that where a lot of this desensitization, I'm going to probably stutter on that word so many times. Why? I don't know. Today is not my talking day. But I think the reason that a lot of this is taking place is because of single parent homes. Now, bear with me on this one because this is going to open your eyes a little bit. Because I thought it was kind of, I was like, wow, I didn't think of it that way. But a lot of times, and statistics will float, I can't talk today. Shit! I'll probably have to redo this one. But whatever. Statistics will show that, children in a single parent home have more trouble and they're not as balanced as they are in a home with two parents. Which makes sense because, I've explained before how women are one side and a man is another side, and they both come together in their teaching, and they kind of create a fluid, harmonious input into the human mind. Now, because, my kids, I raised them, and I'm not a very, well, you do have some guys who are stern assholes and stuff like that, but I'm a loving father. I love my children. I try to be understanding. I listen to them and I communicate with them. I teach them. I talk to them. I don't ever talk at them. I talk to them. I explain things, and I'm 100% completely honest with my children. Of course, I don't sit there and talk about crazy shit that they have no business knowing about, but if something needs to be discussed, I don't baby talk to them. I don't treat them like you're not good enough to know this information. I explain it in a way that would be beneficial to them. Okay? We have to be able to communicate with our children, especially in this time and age when there's so many predators out there, whenever there's so much craziness in the world. They have to be able to be talked to and educated, and they have to know that they can talk to you. Okay? And once you start talking to them like a child, or you try to limit their information, they're not going to want to talk to you because they're going to think that you've been hiding something, or you don't have their best interest at heart. But going back, when you have a single parent, I was raised in a single parent home. So, and I think there's a lot of people in the world that are similar to me with circumstances like that. I grew up with the mother, and that's traditionally what occurs. But what happens when you don't have a male figure within the household on a consistent basis, or if there's no basis at all, we are, as men or as boys becoming men, we are left to our own concepts, and we're left to what we intake from society as to what a man is. And the problem is that most things in media and society emulate men as heartless, cold, tough guys, and stuff like that. It's just the tough guy, I ain't got no feelings, run through women all the time and all that. Unfortunately, that is pretty much the staple that young boys are given to really look at. If you look at somebody that's kind of tender, that's a guy, oh, that guy's a sissy or whatever like that, So you have that input is basically the majority of what is being expressed to young boys that are growing up. Now, unfortunately, that is one aspect of being a man. Okay, you do have to be kind of tough and bear through a lot of things that you don't want to. But probably the biggest thing about being a real man is simply taking care of your responsibilities. Being a real man is knowing what you need to take care of and taking care of it, no matter what. Being a man is getting up repeatedly and over until you get it right. It's not blowing some shit up. It's not saying fuck you to everybody. That's not. I mean, it's not just I'm gonna do this and do my way. That's not a man. A man doesn't just go beat shit up and that's it. I'm the man. It's not what a man is, dude. The biggest part of being a productive male, is providing. Is taking care of the responsibilities. And unfortunately, and I am one of them, but unfortunately there are extenuating circumstances where it just doesn't work out. But if you have a responsibility, but I did take my children and I do take care of them. I'm a single parent, so um, if you are with a woman and it doesn't work out, you need to have input with your children, and you have to be responsible. You have to raise your children, bro. That shit is just the way it is. Otherwise, it's going to be them raised with this preconceived notion of what a man really is. And unfortunately, the first thing is they don't have a man in their life. So first thing that they're subconsciously taught is that a man runs away from responsibility. That's the first thing that they're taught. And then men are tough guys and badasses from, society and media. Wow. I thought about that and I was just like, well, there's no wonder we're at the point where we're at. And then when they actually get hurt because they really haven't been desensitized and get out and play, with their dads and, wrestle around and stuff like that, they're sissies. But anyway, I don't really want to say that, but okay. What is a sissy? Sissy is somebody that's just, when I say sissy, I don't know, I'm not trying to be insulting, but it's just a guy that's just won't get out there, and if there's some work that needs to be done, is, I didn't win it big. That's really good. I mean, it don't get me wrong. If you can go and you can sit in a plush, whatever, doing, and you don't have to work and your hands is clean and all that, hey, that's good for you. That's still taking care of your responsibilities and you're still doing your obligation. And that's what children need to see. A man that's fulfilling obligations, and they don't need to be told, I pay rent here, I do that, do that, do that. Sometimes I fall into that category and I kind of feel bad about it because it's like you're putting almost like something over their head. You want to be an example without complaining about it and just saying, hey, you know what? I do this for you because I love you. And the cat too. Cat's kind of a talker. Now, kind of going back to what I originally started to talk about was the desensitization is like mental. You can mentally desensitize yourself, which means that you get into a point to where it's like you stop your mental growth. I've done that with math. Yeah, in 8th grade, whenever people are trying to memorize all these fractions and all this stuff and these formulas, and look, I don't need all that in life. I got a calculator for the tough stuff, and that's it. And I mean, I would be absolutely useless if something mathematical came up. We would die if something had to be formulaic and I had to figure it out, and I didn't have a calculator, or I'm just letting you know. Now in other areas, and that's just the way that it is with most humans, is they're drawn or they like certain things. Logic, arts, there's just different facets. For me, it's math. And I chose to become that way and justify my not wanting to learn or expanding my knowledge and becoming desensitized to math and just saying, ooh, I will pass on that. But these are the 3 examples, spiritual, mental, and physical desensitizations. And I just thought it was kind of important to kind of touch base on, the single parent home issue, because that's kind of, I think it's prevalent right now. I think we're seeing a lot of the effects of the trickle down of that in a lot of different ways. So I hope you enjoy this. I try to keep it short, and I stuttered a lot. My cat came in. My kids are all running outside. So, you know, it's really just important in these times to just remember, even though we've been hurt, even though we are up against a wall and we have all this stuff going on, that it's okay to question everything and be afraid and to be sensitive and to communicate. It's okay, man. I think we have two sides, of political parties that are just. It's a weird time right now. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of hostility, and I don't understand. I mean, you know, I don't understand completely destroying cities and just setting stuff on fire. Now, let me explain to you this before somebody wants to really get all up in arms. That I disagree 100% with anybody being murdered. I don't care if a cop does it. I don't care who does it. I believe that murder is wrong. I don't think anybody should be put in that position. Okay? Now, do do I think that there should be some kind of reaction to that? Of course. Do I think that there should be some kind of justice to that? Damn right. I know that if my child was killed by anybody, police officer or Fred down the street, I'm going to be pissed off. And I would want some kind of justice to be served. I would want some kind of resolution. I personally, I mean, depending on the situation, if something went really crazy, just depending on the circumstances, I could understand how I personally would want to unleash my fury. Okay? But I would not expect the nation to take that on. Okay? I don't, I mean, it would take I mean, there are certain circumstances that would push me to that edge to where I would go a little bit nuts. I mean, especially if it was my children. I mean, that's just kind of like, and I understand that everybody is somebody's child, but we're talking about like young child, it's not something like that, but I wouldn't start rampaging and burning the streets down and cause multiple things in multiple cities to go down. I would take my frustration out directly on the source of my pain and where my injustice laid. The shit that's going on right now makes no sense. I don't care what you want to tell me. I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm just telling you that. I understand what is wrong. I understand what is unjust. Okay? You cannot, within the realm of my thinking, tell me that fucking up all this other shit is somehow going to make something better. It's not. There's no way. You have become desensitized if that's the way that you think. You've become an extension of the process and the thing that you don't like. It's crazy. It's chaos. And I'm sorry, if you're thrilled to burn shit down and that's your goal to break shit, hey, I totally get that. I did shit like that when I was fucking 12. But I didn't even have a fucking reason. And most of these people out here, what they're doing it for is not a good reason. But I know they're not fucking 12 years old either. So, this is the time that we live in. And we can't become desensitized to that shit. We have to treat these people like children. And unfortunately, they need to probably have a timeout, dude. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of ranting now, so I'm going to stop. Have a good one. It's the weekend. Party down now. Ooh, yeah.